that the Republican Party now has to offer black people and people of color?
Oh my God.
You are, what I guess in technology terms you call it an early adapter.
Yeah.
We've seen you on the front lines here in Republican politics a lot sooner. You're the tip of the spear sort of person. Why did you make that step to enter into Republican politics, and why would you encourage other black people to do that?
It's two things. It's not just what Republicans can do, it's what Democrats have done. For example, 70% of black kids now enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother. That's up threefold from the mid-'60s when Lyndon Johnson, a Democrat, launched what he called the war on poverty. And since then, we've incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. And when you're raised without a father, you're far more likely to be poor, or drop out of school, end up in jail. Democrats have done that. The second thing is this. You look at urban education, K through 12. Let me just pick a couple cities. Baltimore, there are 13 public high schools all located in the inner city in Baltimore where 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. And in Chicago, there are 52 public schools where 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Nationwide, 85% of black 8th graders, these are 13-year-old kids, can neither read nor do math at grade level. Most of them are educated in government schools. Yet the Democratic Party opposes school choice because they get a lot of money from the teachers union, while the elites, whether it's Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, have their own kids in private school. So that right there is outrageous. And the third is economics. When you tax, when you spend, you regulate, you hurt jobs for people at the very bottom, particularly with illegal immigration. There was a study done by the Civil Rights Commission a few years ago, and they found there were 1 million fewer blacks working because of the presence of illegal alien labor, and that was before Biden let in 8 million illegal aliens. They also put downward pressure on the wages of people living in the inner city with high school or less. So the Democrats have done a lot of damage to black people. Republicans believe in hard work, responsibility, accountability, school choice, and secure borders, all of which will help black people.
But in all of those years, since you've been involved with politics, and particularly since you've been involved with Republican politics, the Democrats weren't the only ones in power. And in fact, there were several administrations where Republicans, in fact, had power. Right. What did they do for black people while they had the power, while they had the gavels, while they had the Oval Office?
Was president, best economy ever for black people.
That's not true. I mean, right now we're having, statistically that's not true.
At that point, best economy ever for black people.
Well, what about now?
It would be even better if Joe Biden weren't raising taxes, weren't putting back more regulations, had not gone against oil and gas. The average family of 4 is paying $1,200 more for the same goods and services as they paid 3.5 years ago. And people at the bottom, black people, are hurt the most by that. Gas prices are up 50% over what they were 3.5 years ago. That alone, is the economy stupid? Most people vote based on the economy. I asked you, are you better off now than you were 3.5 years ago? The only people that say yes are illegal aliens.
Well, yeah, but the economy statistically is doing gangbusters right now. A lot of the people who are opposing Joe Biden have just been doing...
I just now said, are you better off now than you were 3.5 years ago? The average person would say no. For gas prices, for inflation, you're paying $1,200 a month more. I said it already, a family of 4 for the same goods and services they were paying 3.5 years ago. That's what matters. More for eggs, more for bacon, more for lettuce. And illegal aliens are now going to cause black people to lose jobs, and they're going to put downward pressure on wages for inner city people living in the city, which is why more and more black people are looking at the Democratic Party. Now about 20% of black people are looking at the Republican Party, I said Democratic Republican Party, than they were before, because of the reasons I just now mentioned. We're talking about, are you better off now than you were 3.5 years ago? And the answer is, hell no, not for most people.
I think one of the things that we probably could agree upon is that black people tend to be a lot more conservative as a group. Certainly we're not a monolith, but I think in our thinking and in our approach, we tend to be a lot more conservative than folks give us credit for.
Well,
Would you say that?
I hear a lot of people say that we're not a monolith, but historically, blacks have voted 90-95% for the Democratic Party while we're talking about how we're not a monolith. That's monolithic voting.
Well, it is right now, but I'm talking about in terms of cultural mores. We tend to be a lot more conservative.
All the more reason why black people ought to rethink their allegiance to the Democratic Party. What has happened is that Democrats rather, have convinced black people that systemic racism remains a major problem in America when it does not. That cops are out to get black people. They are not. And they've convinced black people that the issue is social justice, and we Democrats wear the white hat in that battle, and these dastardly Republicans, they wear the black hat. That's how Democrats have bamboozled black people from thinking about voting Republican.
Do you think, and this will be our last question to wrap it up here, do you think that this president may have squandered an opportunity over the past 8 or 9 years to invite more black people into the tent with his vitriolic
for crying out
speaking?
Give me the number one vitriolic thing he said.
Where do we start?
All I want is one. Give me one. Give me the most vitriolic thing the man has said.
I mean, saying
You can't do it, can you?
yeah, I certainly
Then
can.
do it.
I mean,
Then do it.
saying that black people can relate to him more because he's a convict now. I mean, does that make any sort of sense? I mean, implying that that because he's been arrested or because he's
Toni Morrison, was she a racist? Toni Morrison called Bill Clinton the first black president, not because he played the saxophone, but because she felt that the system was mistreating him, and therefore black people can relate to him. That's why she called him the first black president. She said the same thing Trump said. Nobody said a damn thing. Trump said that he's a bigot. You're not even fair. I asked you to give me the number one thing. That's all you got? That's all you got?
The president said plenty vitriolic things.
Give me one.
Oh, come on now. Come on. You're not being honest with me. You're not being honest with me.
He said a lot of vitriolic things. Give me the number one vitriolic thing he said.
I don't have to tell you what. All you have to do is look.
You are why black people don't vote Republican.
Because of me.
Emotion. You don't have anything.
I have everything. I can go. All I have to do is go to a single tape, and I've got tons and tons and tons and tons.
It should be in your head.
They're talking right now. They're talking right now about dropping the temp.
Wait. You can't back it up, brother.
Republicans.
You can't back it up.
Wait.
made an assertion,
No. Republicans and Democrats right now.
This is lame, brother.
Republicans and Democrats right now.
You said he's done
No. Wait. You're talking over me. Republicans and Democrats are talking about bringing down the temperature of the conversation. Why are they doing that?
Media bias.
Oh, no, you can't tell me. Okay, hey, look, I do appreciate your time.
Welcome back. PoliticsInColor.com. That's just a brief clip of what we are experiencing here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Republican National Convention. Jonathan, that was quite a spirited conversation, one might say. Give us a little more.
Well,
when you walked away from that, what did you walk away from that feeling about the ideology?
Yeah, I walked away from that feeling breathless. I saw Larry, and I approached Larry because I said, excuse me, in technology terms, he's sort of a first adapter. You know, he's one of those people who, as African American, was early to come into the party and accept
the new Republican Party.
Oh yeah, and new
because we've been Republicans a long time.
Right. So the new Republican Party back then, decades ago. And he's had basically the same party line that he's had for many years, which is to attack Democrats unilaterally as the cause of all problems that black people face. And I pressed him on that a little bit. He had a number of statistics that he tends to quote all the time about why the Democrats don't work for black people. And one of the things I think that I pressed him on that sort of pivoted our conversation and made it a little bit more spirited was, hey, there were Republican administrations over some of those periods of time where you would have expected if you're going to hold one party accountable for it. There were some years in there where there were Republicans who had power, and so I was trying to hold them to account for that.
Gotcha. Dara?
Quite spirited, for sure. And as I said before we tossed to some of these packages, this is what the Republican National Convention is all about. We're on the ground with people that are behind the scenes and people that are really passionate about their politics. And when we get to the DNC, the Democrats and their policymakers will also be passionate. It's our job to engage in these conversations, right, with these people. Listen, I follow Larry on Twitter. He's, always active, and he's always kind of provocative, right, in the things that he says. So to see that exchange is not surprising, but I think he was also surprised at your point of view and the questions, because this setting, many people think that we are along the same train of thought in terms of maybe really conservative. And so maybe he was shocked by or taken aback by your questions.
But folks like Larry who are intentionally provocative, they're accustomed to this. They're accustomed to this conversation, and truly they actually invite the dialogue. And truly
And we're
some of the-
excited about that.
Yeah,
The
yeah, I mean,
politics and color was in the conversation with Larry Elder, and that you were right there in it.
we want a vigorous debate.
And they don't.
And yeah.
And
very,
they-
very
Well,
often
I
that's
think
what
he
they
did because he was there, right? And that's what he does.
but
and now to have a different point of view, he was
But not in this environment.
right.
This is supposed to be his
safe
space. Get out of my head. This is this is supposed to be.
You're gonna start dressing alike tomorrow.
That may happen. This is supposed to be a safe space, and here we are, in their mind, violating that space because as the politics has become more tribalized, as the politics has become more divisive, these types of conversations, these types of exchanges are making people very uncomfortable. And so
Well, he's created a space and an audience of people that just accept
correct.
what he says.
Correct.
Right? So that's not politics and color. We're here to engage
It's
and
about the
converse
party. As far as
and
you're
debate.
concerned, it's about the party line. It's not about spirited debate. Please don't confuse me with the facts, because if you start confusing me with the facts, I might actually have to think about something every now and then.
Are you saying, okay, because all the information is not factual.
Let's not have that conversation. Let's not have that.
Well, and this is sort of the sanctum sanctorum, for people in the Republican Party. This is
That's
where
what
we
it
can-
is. That's
yeah.
what it should be.
And it's where- and
If
yeah,
we,
they're
if
entitled
we
to that.
threw you a birthday party, it's all about you. That's
the
what it
cake.
is.
All of the cake.
All the cake, all
All
the
the
ice
cake.
cream.
And the ice
Have
cream.
your cake and please eat it too. That's what it is. And so,
I never could understand what that meant. It took me. I think I was 25 before I finally got that.
and so that's what we're on the ground here doing. And then we also saw the interview with the My Pillow guy.
Oh, yeah.
With Mike Lindell, and we touched on this at the top of the show when we first started the day. Today is day 2 here at the RNC. Politics and Color was able to grab him. We were en route over to the other convention hall and had a chance to grab him. And you got a good 3.5 minutes with him as well. Not as quite contentious, but his words and his actions are quite elevated.
Well, Mike called me a liar. But Mike's got a point of view, and as we touched on earlier in the afternoon, it's one that's decidedly favorable towards amenable to people here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Again,
and they
this
get it,
is
and
their
that's fine.
house.
It's-
This is their house.
Yeah, but
When you engage with him, did anything resonate? Did you
So,
understand what's his goal?
So here's the thing. I think you'd be surprised. It would not surprise me if Mike could attend the Democratic convention and have a great reception there. And some of that has to do with Mike really transcending politics in many ways. He's on Kimmel now.
He's a
been-
businessman first.
Yeah, he's a businessman. He's a businessman who's familiar to people prior to his involvement as an election activist.
Right.
And
Understanding that he was pushed into that lane as well. He
Yeah.
didn't just voluntarily decide. It was when they learned that he was actually a big Trump supporter is when he kind of fell into that lane.
Precisely, and because of his aggressive support for Donald Trump and for the election fraud that he claims existed because of the machines, I think he's had a lot of money come out of his own pocket now, and faced a lot of criticism. But he's become he's become a media personality in a way that he wasn't before, and that's why I think his and the message that he was giving during our interview also was one that I think would appeal to even some folks who live on that side of the aisle.
And as we talked about earlier today regarding that interview, he's a surrogate, whether an official one or whether an unofficial one. We talked about earlier today
To engage the base.
the fact that the party, now that we're in the general election, the party has had to tact a little more to the center, and so they need people like him out there to continue screaming that message that now they think it may be politically less than desirable for them to promote. Also, he loves the camera, and so to go on Jimmy Kimmel loves him because he's an easy target to make fun of. So you take a guy that's easy to make fun of, who loves the camera, you You bring him on the set, and you have a field day.
It's a match made in TV.
It's a match made in TV.
We also saw my interview with Vivek Ramaswamy, who was a presidential candidate and then thought maybe that he could become a VP contender as well. None of those panned out for him.
I could have been a contender. I could have been a champ.
How did he strike you? What impressions did you leave that interview with of Ramaswamy?
Talking points. He stayed the line. As we just heard in the piece, perfect guy. J.D. Vance is the perfect pick, and I've known him a long time. Perfect guy, perfect pick. So when I asked him, but I thought you were in the mix, then he shook him a little bit, only then to say, oh, well, this and that and that and that. However, J.D. Vance is the perfect guy, which we talked about earlier. Everyone was not in agreement that J.D. Vance was the perfect pick to be the running mate to Donald Trump. But we were able to speak to him, and Vivek Ramaswamy will be on the stage tonight. He'll be in prime time sometime after 8 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to see the highlights and things on Politics in Color. But it was good that we got a chance to get his quick reaction before he's able to take the stage tonight. And he also said that what he's going to speak to tonight will be quite different than what people expect to hear from him.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because he is Wilmer, well, you had a chance. You were around when I
was there
nearby to do the interview.
I think your assessment is spot on, and talking points is what he offered, and it's unfortunate that either he didn't feel comfortable enough, or for whatever his reasons are, that he was not able to give some clearer substantive analysis, that it was just talking points. And unfortunately, that seems to be a lot of what we're getting from a lot of the people that we engage with here are talking points. And that's one of the reasons why politicsincolor.com is so important, is because we take you past the talking points. We take you past the stock so-called analysis that you're going to get from the mainstream, and you tune to politicsincolor.com and you get serious substantive conversation and analysis like we're presenting at this moment.
I think that's the paradox. I just wanted to say real quickly, I think that's the paradox of Vivek, is that he is capable of higher order thinking and dumbs down his message. He oversimplifies it, and that's a little bit disappointing.
Well, folks, we're here, politicsincolor.com. We're here at politicsincolor.com. Don't move. Don't go away. Don't leave your seat. There's a whole lot more in store. Keep it locked right here.